Thank you for tuning in to Entertain the Geeky, your source for nerd news.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Jason back at you with more nerd news. So this week was obviously a big week because of the release of Avengers: Infinity War. Yes, it is finally here, and it is glorious. But we're gonna save that. We are gonna put up. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna do a spoilery review of the film. Myself and Joe. So keep your ears open for that later this week. But in the regular nerd news sphere, there was also a bunch of stuff. We finally found out who Bill Skarsgard will be playing in Deadpool 2. Bill Skarsgard, if you're unfamiliar, was Pennywise the Clown in the recent It remake that they did. This is the Stephen King story. He's also the son of Stellan Skarsgard, who is Eric Selvig in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Selvig didn't make an appearance in Avengers: Infinity War, which is the first Avengers movie that he has not been in. I think he's been in all of them except this one. In any case, Bill Skarsgård is going to be in Deadpool 2, and while the recent trailer did give us a pretty good rundown of all the kind of the side characters that will make up Deadpool's X-Force team, Bill Skarsgård's character was not mentioned. But if a week later or so here, they've revealed that he's going to be playing the mutant Zeitgeist. And Zeitgeist is a strange choice. If you're unfamiliar with Zeitgeist, he vomits acid is his special power. And he typically wears like a kind of a mouth guard. There was rumor that Bill Skarsgård would be playing Chamber, which kind of the same. And he doesn't vomit acid, but Chamber, the first time he used his bioblast powers, he blew off his lower jaw and upper torso. So there's, a little bit of a similarity between the two characters as far as the thing happening with their mouth, but Skarsgård is going to be playing Zeitgeist, who, like I said, in the comics, typically wears a little mouth guard and spits acidic vomit. So that should be an interesting one to see. Sticking with celebrities, Netflix has picked up a new sci-fi series that's going to be called Another Life, and will star Katee Sackhoff. And if you're unfamiliar with Katee Sackhoff, she played Starbuck in the remade Battlestar Galactica story, which if you've never watched or never gotten a chance to, I don't understand, because it's great. If you're a sci-fi fan, you owe it to yourself to check out new Battlestar Galactica. But she will be starring in the Netflix series Another Life, which apparently is about her and her crew's search for alien intelligence, searching for proof that there is other intelligent life in the universe, and not much is known about it at this point, other than the fact that it will be sci-fi, and it's really being pushed by Sackhoff and the creators. Excuse me. So we'll know more as we get closer, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this one. Katee Sackhoff was fantastic as Starbuck. There was even rumor for a while that she was going to be playing Captain Marvel. Obviously, Brie Larson is playing the character, but I would have loved to see Katee Sackhoff back in sci-fi, and especially playing someone like Carol Danvers. Would have been great. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Sticking with the movie news from 20th Century Fox, at the CinemaCon, they showed off some footage apparently from Dark Phoenix. They have also apparently dropped the X-Men wording from it. They're just calling it Dark Phoenix. It is not X-Men Dark Phoenix. And they showed off a new logo. And this is an interesting choice. I mean, this may very well be the last movie that the last X-Men movie that we see from 20th Century Fox, with the deal with Disney buying 20th Century Fox. Who knows what they'll do with the X-Men in the future? Will they continue doing movies kind of independently of their other stuff? I'm more inclined to think they'll, and I guess hope, that they will incorporate these characters into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the aftermath of Phase 4. But we still don't know. We still don't know what the sale, will do to some of these franchises. But they've dropped the X-Men, which bothers me a little bit, just because I'm kind of OCD, and I put all my movies grouped together in alphabetical order and things like that. And not having X-Men is going to put Dark Phoenix away from the other X-Men movies. And I know it seems, well, just put it with X-Men. That's not, I'm a little OCD about that. So. I saw the logo, and honestly, it was just a kind of a grainy picture, but the logo looks a little less X-Men and more X-Files. And if you've seen the logo, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I think it's using the same font, and it definitely has kind of an X-Files look to it. This movie will be set in the 1990s, so go figure, I guess. I don't know. Looks a little weird. So, over in the TV world, we just wrapped up Star Wars Rebels, which, if you've not watched, you really should. It's a fantastic tale of Kanan and Ezra and the crew of the Ghost. Just a really, really fun kind of Star Wars story that kind of followed along with leading up to the events of A New Hope. If you're an eagle-eyed viewer, you might have even caught the ship in the final battle of Star Wars Rogue One, which implies that they were there. But it was a fantastic run. It all kind of came full circle, and never to be left out of the announcement game. Disney has announced the next cartoon, which will be called Star Wars Resistance. And apparently, this one is going to, similar to Star Wars Rebels, take place in between some movies. Apparently, this one is supposed to lead up to the events of The Force Awakens. So that could be really cool. Maybe we'll get to see some of the Battle of Jakku, and kind of understand, what shaped the universe, how the First Order came to be. Maybe a little more information on the Republic of that era, because we really didn't get a lot of time to learn about them or know much about them before the First Order blew them out of the sky. So who knows? Really, again, not much known about this one yet, other than it will focus on the events leading up to The Force Awakens, and a man who has to kind of infiltrate the First Order and kind of see what they're up to. And so, like I said, maybe we'll get an inside look at kind of their rise to power, which would be really fun. Over in the video game side of things, Fortnite, if you're a Fortnite player, I personally am not, but this was a big deal because apparently Season 4 of Fortnite is going to be adding DC characters to its game. They've showed off some pictures, and some fans even kind of mocked up some little skins and what they would look like in the game. So interesting, well, with the likes of Batman and Superman and Flash and Lantern, Wonder Woman. So if you're a Fortnite player, keep your eyes open for that. Season 4 is supposed to drop in some DC skins for your Fortnite adventures. Sticking with video games, and this is not an official thing from any official company, whether it be Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft, but a YouTuber has created a mashup of Super Mario 64 and the Ocarina of Time. And he's just apropos calling it Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time. So apparently it takes Mario and Luigi and drops them into the Legend of Zelda world. And it's not just hey, here's Mario instead of Zelda. All the levels have been redone to take advantage of the fact that Mario doesn't have the same skills as Link. They have reincorporated all the enemies in the world to be Mario enemies. So turtles, the kind of, little Goombas, chain chomps, the various things. Check it out on YouTube. And honestly, if you want to play it, he has instructions for downloading it there on YouTube. But do it quick, because I'd imagine this is not going to stand for long. Once Nintendo gets wind of it, they'll probably shut it down. But the trailer looks really, really fun. It definitely has the Super Mario flavor and the humor, but set in the Zelda world. All the dungeons are represented, all the locations. It is the Hyrule map from Ocarina of Time, kind of redone to take advantage of Mario as the character as opposed to Link. But super, super fun looking. Not got a chance to try it yet. I mean, honestly, I'm not a PC gamer, so I probably won't get a chance to try it. But if you are a PC gamer, try it before it's gone, because it looks super fun. Going over to the TV world, I know we've been talking about this a lot lately, but Rick and Morty Season 4 is still being negotiated between Adult Swim, Justin Roiland, and Dan Harmon. But an interviewer caught up with Dan Harmon about it at the Tribeca Film Festival, and apparently he said negotiations are moving forward, and he's very optimistic that Adult Swim is not going to let this pass, because honestly it's given them some of the highest ratings they've ever had. It's become such an overnight success, such a cultural phenomenon. I mean, I hear people reference Rick and Morty all the time. I see Rick and Morty's faces on t-shirts. It's definitely infiltrated our sphere, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. But again, Dan Harmon seems very optimistic that negotiations will be moving forward soon, and they will be able to get to work and hopefully bring us new Rick and Morty maybe sometime in 2019. Doubt it'll happen this year, but probably 2019 if at the earliest. Going back over to the video game side of things for a while, I have been reading about this, and I am really, really eager to play it, and I have not gotten to yet, but I will definitely bring to you some more information about it when I do. But A Way Out is being touted as the co-op game. Saying it's great to sit down and play with your buddy. I saw one guy say it was great to sit down and play with your spouse or your significant other. And I know that doesn't sound like the greatest thing in the world sometimes to some people, but apparently this game has a very easy learning curve. It's very simple, kind of point and shoot type of situation. You play as two people who are trying to escape from prison. And it's cooperation. You really, really have to work together in order to escape from this prison and take out the guards along the way. It's got some great fighting stuff in it. Again, very easy learning curve. Apparently, it does not take much to kind of pick it up and play it, even if you're new to games or have never played games before. And apparently, the dialogue is not intending to be comedic, but comes off as quite comedic because of its kind of cheesy, over-the-top nature, which is also something so you can not only enjoy this with your friends or, again, your spouse or significant other, but while you're playing, apparently you'll be entertained. And maybe you'll fight a little bit, who knows. But it's called A Way Out. I'm definitely going to be adding it to my download queue because I'm always looking for games to play with my wife. She's not as much of a gamer as me. She prefers to kind of observe. She does enjoy taking advantage of my fandom for video games that I will sit and play, and she enjoys good storytelling, and that's something we've come to expect in games nowadays, is good storytelling, good narratives, driven really by the characters, not necessarily by the action. And that's a perfect segue into God of War. We did a review on it last week, and I had not had a chance to play but the first 20 minutes. Well, here I am now, having finished the game, and I gotta tell you guys, it is fantastic. I mean, it is not only a great God of War game, but just a great game. I mean, it may be one of the greatest games I've ever played. It's beautiful. The locales, the vistas, it's breathtaking to look at. Maybe the best looking game I've ever seen. But then gameplay wise, it has a steep learning curve. I mean, it is challenging, and it's kind of on a curve. As you get better, it gets harder. And I found myself, even in those moments where you think, oh, the same kind of tried and true combat will work on this enemy, they make you switch up your strategy. They really make you kind of assess every single enemy and what is the best way to fight them. Meanwhile, Atreus, the character of your son, is throwing in his tips about how to best take on these enemies in the form of his little journal, which is just fantastic. I mean, it's kind of a very interesting way to interact with him through the journal. So he talks about, the history, the Norse mythology, the world but then he can also translate runes. He also gives tips on fighting enemies. He's just a fantastic little companion, and usually games that have that kind of dynamic, I think back to like Ashley from Resident Evil 4, Ico, the kind of, the little helper and the person you have to kind of hold the hand of the whole time. Atreus is not that partner at all. He's actually a very effective combatant. Yes, does he occasionally get into trouble? and need you to kind of, get him out of it, sure, but it's really just a simple matter of looking to the direction he's in and throwing your axe at the enemy who's messing with him, and then bringing it right back and continuing your fight. The Leviathan axe is what I'm talking about, and it does return to your grasp, similar to Thor's hammer, and it's fantastic. I mean, I can't even tell you how much fun it is just to launch it into the, off a cliff or into a ravine or into a lake. Doesn't matter. It will always come back to you. You can drop it and literally just keep playing the game. And, hours later go, oh, wait, I don't have my axe, and reach out and it will come back to you. It's a fantastic game, and if you're a gamer, and whether you're a fan of God of War or not, you need to check it out, because it's definitely one of the best games I've ever played. Big shout out to my friend Mike for picking me up a copy of the game and being the greatest friend and gifting it to me. Speaking of video games, keeping with that kind of theme, the PS Plus games for May have been announced. Two really good ones. Beyond Two Souls, which is a fantastic kind of narrative, story-driven game. Really, really fun to play if you've not checked it out. It looks like it's been a little bit remastered, maybe for the PlayStation 4 era, but Beyond Two Souls is the first, and the second one is Rayman Legends. And if you've never tried a Rayman game and you like platforming like Mario or Ratchet and Clank or Banjo-Kazooie or any of those old school platforming games, Rayman is a game to check out. Super fun, super addicting. Definitely have added it to the queue and downloaded it, and will be trying it again. I've played the Rayman games, but it definitely is something I'm eager to go back to and just have some fun with. I just got done with... Before I started God of War, I had just got done with the free game from last month, which was Ratchet and Clank. Also another great shooter platformer that is just super fun, and if you've not played it, highly recommend both games. So we finally got some clarity on why Joss Whedon is not going to be directing the Batgirl movie. The story at the time was that he just didn't really have any ideas about where to take the story. He didn't really have any ideas about getting the story off the ground. Apparently that wasn't entirely true. I guess it was from a certain point of view. But he has clarified that he did have a story. He was working on it. The story wasn't working with the other things that had been going on in the DCEU. And you got to feel for the guy. I mean, DC has not been doing the best work lately. And yes, there are hardcore fans, and I'm not hating on it. I really do enjoy their movies for what they are. I wish they were different. I wish we were looking at it from a different creator's point of view. But Wonder Woman killed it. They showed off some footage for Aquaman at CinemaCon, and it sounds very fun. And honestly, I think Momoa was a great part of Justice League. I'm not saying these movies are irredeemable. I just feel like the caliber of movie that we expect has changed when it comes to our comic book properties. And I feel like that DC's kind of, it's hard to not think, oh, well, they're getting left in the dust by Marvel. But I don't even think it's that. I just think it's really, they put the focus on the wrong things. I mean, you got these, Jason Momoa and Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, and they're getting all buff, and they got their videos from their CrossFit and their training, preparing for their roles, and that's great. We want our superheroes to look super, but I've seen pictures from the set of Doctor Strange. I've seen pictures from the set of Captain Marvel. And what are our heroes doing? What are these people who are playing these characters doing to prepare for their roles? They're reading comics. And yes, there's the workout and the CrossFit and the things that you have to do to get yourself looking like a superhero. But at the core of what it is, you have to know the character. You have to find those good stories about the character and really do your research into who this person is on the page in order to accurately bring this person to the screen. And I think it's obvious in the portrayal of Superman that that wasn't the case. I mean, they don't really care who Superman was in a comic book. Batman is probably the only one who is a little bit accurate, but even he's very inaccurate to his comic book counterpart. And don't get me wrong, I like Ben Affleck. I think he's done a good job as Batman. I think he's one of the shining things from DC's universe, but it's not the comic book character. And do I need it to be exact? Do we as fans need it to be exact? No, because Marvel has proven that there's leeway. But it should start with the comics. It should start there. If you're going to play this character, you need to do your research. And we've seen the actors from Marvel doing that research. And we just have not seen that from DC. And I think that could really help change their movies for the better. So finally, there was a full theatrical trailer for Venom this week. And I have talked about the teaser on the show, how I thought it was a fantastic idea to not show the monster, to make it more about the duality of Eddie. But fan demand was high, and we definitely now have a good look at Venom, what he's going to look like in the movie. Even the voice, which apparently Tom Hardy is doing the voice of Brock and the voice of Venom, which I think is fantastic because there's a moment where he's talking about hearing voices and then he just hears Eddie, and it's him doing the voice. And they definitely played up the Lethal Protector thing. Venom is definitely going to be a good guy in the movie. I mean, he's not a good guy. He's a bad entity. But Eddie and him come to an agreement that if he's going to kill people, they're going to be bad people, which harkens back to Venom Lethal Protector, the comic series. And there was rumor that Riz Ahmed was going to be playing the villain, and he definitely seems villainous, but I don't think he's the villain. The rumor is that their villain is going to be Carnage, and Woody Harrelson has been cast in the movie as an as-of-yet unnamed character, and I think it's a pretty safe bet that Woody Harrelson will be playing Cletus Cassidy in the movie, the murderer, death row inmate that would be Venom, or would be Carnage, excuse me. So I think, honestly, if that's actually what happens, if that's the case, I think that's fantastic, because I think Woody Harrelson is a fantastic actor, and he can definitely do psychotic. I mean, there's, Natural Born Killers. I'm sure there are other examples. That's always my go-to when you see him just as a psychotic murderer, and that is Cletus Cassidy. Cletus Cassidy is a death row inmate for murder, and the symbiote melding with his brain turns him into such a monstrous thing. And I can't wait to see that play out on screen. As for how Venom looks, I think it looks fine. I mean, in all reality, I've heard some people say that the CG looks a little wonky, that it looks a little slimy, or maybe a little too unfocused. But you got to remember, people, this is early in the movie's production. The movie doesn't come out until October. So this could be representative of unfinished shots. These could be shots that they just kind of threw together really quickly because fans were in a bit of an uproar about not getting to see Venom in the original teaser trailer. So it could be just something they threw together, but I still think that scene is fantastic because you get, Venom and Brock in there. The guy says, "What are you?" Brock says, "We," and then the Venom suit kind of forms around him, and then Venom says, "Our Venom." Also, I love that he's calling himself "we." That's something that they didn't do in Spider-Man 3, and it always bothered me because Venom is not one person, he's two people, the symbiote and Eddie Brock, and they refer to themselves as we because they are more than one person. Who Brock is not indicative of who Venom is, and vice versa. But the trailer looks cool. I think it looks like a fun movie. I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to get to see Venom go toe-to-toe with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but there you have it. Sony still wants to try to make the most out of this license that they have, and I applaud them. I think the movie looks fun. So that's going to bring us to the end, guys. Do me a favor, if you're digging what we're putting down, head on over to entertainthegeeky.com. Check out the blog posts. Check out the shows. We got Chris and Rogers Entertain the Geeky podcast, Nerd News here from me, Matt and Jeff. They're the Board Game Bros podcast. They're brothers. They play board games. They deconstruct board games. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/entertainmentgeeky. If Twitter is more your speed, we are there as well at entertaingeeky. And don't forget, if you're local and you're a listener, we are going to be out at Miniature Market at Manchester and 270 on Sunday the 20th for what we are calling Geek Day. It's going to be an excellent time to come out, try some games that Miniature Market has on very, very big sales. So you'll be able to try something out. If you like it, you'll be able to get a cheap copy of it. We're real excited about this. We hope that you are too. And keep an eye out in early June because we'll be doing another event at Miniature Market where we will be demoing our game, EG Games Conniving Cooks. We're gonna coincide that demo with the launch of the Kickstarter for the game as well, so we're excited about that. We hope you are too. We got all these good ideas. We want to bring them to you, the listeners, so keep your eyes out for that. So I'm going to check you guys next week. Until then, stay geeky.